So, apparently, we're having a hard time sourcing our chartreuse. Now that it's allocated, it's getting harder and harder to find, and we're looking at the last ounce in our bottle and we're freaking out. But honestly, there's no need for that because we can now make our own. We're gonna have a lifetime supply of our favorite elixir at a fraction of the cost, and better yet, once we have all the ingredients with us, it's only gonna take 2 hours to make. So if you guys are ready, let's crack the code of the great Green Chartreuse. Let's go. Alright, so since the beginning of this chartreuse apocalypse, or the chartreuse shortage, call it the way you want, I started to see popping everywhere videos on different options we have, different liquors that we can use instead of our beloved elixir, and the outcome of most of these videos is there's no real substitute. So that's why I had the idea to try to make my own green herbal liquor that could be used as a substitute to the green elixir in our favorite green cocktails. I started to play with herbal liquors almost a decade ago. I started with homemade yellow chartreuse recipes because simply it was not available in my area and I was really in love with that stuff. So I tried to make something similar. I kind of made it, in my opinion, but I never really played with green chartreuse because it was simply available in my area and it seemed way too complicated to me. But recently I went deep into the homemade liquor rabbit hole, and I must say I made some pretty interesting discoveries, so much so that today I am really happy with the recipe I'm going to share with you for my green herbal liquor recipe that you can use instead of green chartreuse. On a side note, I also made a video for the yellow chartreuse recipe, and in that video there's a lot of details important for this recipe as well. So if you haven't watched that video yet, press pause, go watch it. I'm gonna link it up here and come back after. That being said, let's make our liquor, and let's start by talking about the equipments we will need. First, we're gonna need a vacuum sealer, some sous vide bags, a precision cooker, a micro scale, some graduated beakers, some sealable jars for our infusions, and some pipette bottles. For the ingredients, I'm gonna list everything with the measurements in the description below, but here's what you're gonna need. Angelica root, mace, licorice root, cardamom, dried thyme and rosemary, green anise seeds, star anise, ombre seeds, lemon and orange dried peels, hyssop, clove, cinnamon, chamomile, saffron, black peppercorn, genepi tincture, peppermint essence, pine essence, and lemon balm extract. We're also going to need 80% alcohol, so if you're using a high-proof spirit higher than that, you're gonna need distilled water to proof it down. If you want to know the formula, it's gonna be in the show notes. The reason why I'm using different methods, the bulk maceration, separated maceration, and essences, is simply to preserve some aromas and flavors that wouldn't be extracted otherwise. If you want to know more about this, I talked about it in the yellow chartreuse video. Again, the video is gonna be linked up here. But if you want to know even more details, I'm gonna publish a special ebook on my Patreon just for the chartreuse recipes with all the details I can provide. So if you're interested in that, the link is going to be in the description below. Now we're ready to start the recipe, and the first step is going to be to weight our dry ingredients. Pro tip, when you get to the chamomile, I highly recommend you get only the buds. Then once your ingredients are weighted, you're gonna place them in a sous vide bag, and you're gonna add 250 ml of 80% alcohol. You're gonna seal the bag and place it in hot water with your precision cooker set at 75.5 degrees Celsius, and you're gonna leave it there for 2 hours. After 2 hours, you're gonna remove the bag from the hot water and place it immediately in cold water. Once it's back to room temperature, you can filter it through a coffee filter. Then, at this point, the flavors are going to be way too intense in the infusion, so we're gonna double up the amount that we filtered with more 80% alcohol. Then for every 400 ml of liquid, we're gonna add 80 grams of water and 130 grams of sugar. Next, we're gonna add our essences, tinctures, and extract, and we're gonna start with 12 drops of peppermint essence, 6 drops of pine essence, 10 ml of lemon balm extract, and 10 ml of genepi tincture. Now, if you don't want to go through the process of making the Genepi tincture, which I can understand because it takes about 2 weeks to make the maceration the traditional way, there's a shortcut. You can use Genepi liqueur instead, but this is already sweetened and proofed down, so you're gonna need more of that than the tincture. So instead of using 10 mils of tincture, I recommend you up this to 45 mils of liqueur to get something similar in terms of intensity. Then we're gonna stir until the sugar is completely dissolved, and buckle up, this might take a little while. Also, you're gonna notice the color is a little bit off, but don't worry, that's totally normal. Even the monks I heard are coloring their liqueurs afterwards, so don't worry, this is not cheating. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start in a small beaker with 1 drop of blue food coloring, and we're gonna sample 1 ounce of our liqueur. Then we're gonna add this little by little to our bigger batch until we're happy with the color. Depending on your recipe, you're not gonna add the exact same amount as I did, and you should have an extra 10 or 15 mils of way too green liqueur that you don't wanna add to your batch. So all you have to do is to chug it and forget about it. Then all you have to do left is to bottle it up and enjoy. For me, the biggest difference between this and the real chartreuse is the aroma, especially when you just finished it. It has a slightly humid herb aroma that's due to the fact that we macerated the ice up rather than distilling it to get an essence. But after a couple of days, that smell will dissipate and the aroma will then become very close to the real chartreuse. It is super peppery, minty, herbaceous. It has that green smell and it's super sweet on the nose, like the real chartreuse. On the palate, as soon as we taste it, we get that kick of heat because of the high ABV. It's super peppery, minty, complex, and herbaceous, like the real liqueur. Honestly, I'm extremely proud of this recipe, and so far it's been working perfectly in all the cocktails I've tried it in. So speaking of which, I'm dying for a last word, so let's make one. So we're gonna do equal parts of each 4 ingredients. In case you don't know what the last word is, it's equal parts of gin, green chartreuse, maraschino liqueur, and fresh lime juice. I'm gonna shake it over ice for about 10 seconds. And fine strain it in your favorite cocktail coupe. A lot of people will add a little maraschino cherry to this, but today I'm gonna leave it as is. Cheers. My friends, honestly, I hope you're gonna give this a try because in my opinion, it works. Obviously, it's not exactly the same as green chartreuse, but forget it. It's impossible to replicate this liqueur perfectly, but this is pretty damn close. And I'm not even talking of the cost of it. Of course, it's gonna cost you a little bit more for the first batch because you're gonna buy all the botanicals and ingredients to make the essences, but that's not even gonna reach the cost of 1 bottle of chartreuse. And after, you're gonna have enough ingredients, except for the alcohol, to make about 20 more batches. So that means that every 600 mils of green chartreuse you're gonna make after the first batch will cost you between $10 and $12. So I think it's a great value, especially when you consider the quality of the liqueur. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about all the details, my thought process, and why I use this technique or this method instead of another one, I covered all that in my Yellow Chartreuse video, so it's gonna be right there. So my friends, this is it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Turn that bell if you want to make sure not to miss the next one. Until then, thank you very much again. Have a great day and cheers to the end of the chartreuse shortage. My way. Cheers.